Hello everyone, welcome to Lighthouse Stamping with Lorraine. I hope you're having a great day. It is Friday. Fridays are always good. So we're going to be using Forever Fern and the Medium Daisy Punch. I know you're saying that's a weird combination, but we're going to make an unusual card. It's a fall card. I'm going to be starting a series of fall, Thanksgiving, Halloween cards for in a week or two. I'm not quite ready for Christmas, so we're going to stick to fall for a while. And so we're going to go from there. But housekeeping before we get started. Perfect Partners is from September 1st to the 30th while supplies last. There is dies that go with stamp sets that previously did not have the dies. There is 6 sets, and I'm not going to go, I've talked about this several times. So if you want more information, please go to my online store to find information about the Perfect Partners. Some great stamp sets and dies, and we're actually going to be using a couple of these soon. So we'll go from there. The link to my online store is below. My email address is below. All the product and the description of what we're making is below. All the measurements, everything you'll need to reproduce this card. And please remember to like and subscribe as we are trying to grow this YouTube channel. And all those subscriptions and likes are most appreciated. Thank you very much. So, on with what we're making. So we're going to set these aside until we need them. We're actually only using 2 of the stamps, no dies out of this set. We're going to be using this one here, and we're going to be using the phrase, "To a friend that makes me smile." So, but you could use any verse inside. You could just say hello. You could put anything you wanted on the inside of this. You could just use it as a note card. It's very universal. So I'm going to show you how to make this card. As soon as I set this aside. And the card we're making, there's the little envelope, and this is the card we're making. Now I'm going to hold this up. There's lots of layers, and I'm going to hold this up so you can see. Hopefully you can see all the texture in those flowers. And I'm going to show you how we get all the texture and the different shading and colors for there, okay? And we'll be talking about the accent I used in the center and the ways I think you should do it and not do it. Okay? So, let's get started. I think what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and stamp the pieces, and then I'm going to show you how to make the flowers. Now with these flowers, as I go through, I'll explain it, but the flowers we're going to actually put on the card today were made earlier, and I'm going to show you how to make one of the flowers, okay? But unfortunately we can't use it because it has to sit and dry overnight. But we'll look more about that shortly. So let's get out our supplies here. Dimensions. Here's our envelope we're going to be stamping and our cardstock. Now in this card, and I will explain all this funky paper here in a few minutes. We need our inside piece, which I'll get some dimensions. All the dimensions are below if I forget to give you something, but this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/4 by 4, and this is the outside piece, which is 4 1/2 by 3 1/4, 3 1/4. Sorry. So, and this is very vanilla. So we're going to go ahead, and this card opens this direction like this. So we're going to simultaneously stamp everybody. So first we're going to grab the Mossy Meadow. I want to look at this real quick. I'm going to grab the Mossy Meadow first, and I'm going to also grab a piece of scrap paper because I'm going to be going slightly off the page. And so the Mossy Meadow, and I'm only going to ink this up to this point here. I don't want to do the stem. You just set it up from the end. I don't want most of the stem. You're not going to see it all, but I didn't need to stamp ink all that, so we're going to put Mossy Meadow here, and this is the inside piece. We'll set that over here for a second. And then we're going to do the front. Oh, and I just did what I said I didn't want to do. Oh. Yeah, it'll be fine. So this is Mossy Meadow. We're going to bring Mossy Meadow in to the center like this. And I got a little light on one side, but that's okay. And then we're going to do one from this corner. Like that. And then we're going to grab Stampin' Scrub or your chamois, whichever you prefer. Give it a little rub. Make sure you're not right over your project because it does splatter and those dark colors will show up on that very vanilla. So back up a little bit. Now we're going to switch to Old Olive. And we're going to do a few of those. Now, as I've told other people, this is an old, I can't even talk today, old olive stamp pad. This is the fabric one. So besides tapping, rubbing sometimes gets you more ink on these fabric ones than the new ones. The new ones you do not need to do the twisty thing, only on the memento. So we're going to go here into this. So basically doing all four quadrants of this. I want to make sure it's good and covered. Like that. Okay? It looks sort of messy at the moment, but that's okay. Then we got this one here. We're going to put that in this corner here. And we need to do this one more place, and that is on our envelope. Make sure the envelope's going the right direction. And like that. And we're done with that one. And then for our verse that goes on the inside, don't need that anymore. And right there like that. So that's the inside of our card. And we are pretty much done stamping. So now that we got the stamping done, it is time. We're going to set all that aside and this to make lots of room. So I can show you how to make these flowers. And I'm going to show you some samples here too. So I pulled out 3 embossing folders. You can use whatever you have. This one is Timeworn Type, Painted Textures, and Timber. They're all 3D. I wanted 3D. The others will work, but 3D really captures it. And I'm going to show you how to make this. This is Timeworn Type in Cajun Craze. I'm going to hold that up so you can see all the detail in that. Oh, there's an extra one. This is Cajun Craze. No, this is Cajun Craze. This is Crushed Curry. Sorry. And if you look, it's on both sides. And I'm going to show you how I do this. And then this one is Pumpkin Pie. Both sides are done. So I have lots more to make lots more cards, and I'll use these because this is just, it's beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the crushed curry one today. I need one more of those. So I'm making a few of these cards. And I made that one with the painted textures and the crushed curry. And you use, I'm going to grab my paper now, in this big stack of weird shaped things is a nice big piece of crushed curry to go under here. So I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to make sure I have some scratch paper and stuff to set this on when I'm done. Typically I would do this in the kitchen so that I could take this straight to the sink and set it in the sink and run water over it and rinse it off immediately. But since I'm in my craft room, I can't do that, so we make do a little bit. So I'm going to show you how to ink this up. Now you could use a roller if you wanted. I find that going, actually Actually, I need that scratch paper over here. I find going right on the thing is perfectly fine with the pad. Now, typically, when you are going to be embossing with ink, you put it on this front piece that says Stamping Up, so that it would just only emboss the ink on the top. But this time we're doing both sides because it gives it different textures and it gives you different options when you're making the flower, and you can rotate those around to give different textures to your flowers. So I'm just globbing ink all over. It's very scientific, you know, globbing. And doing this side as well. Also, if you use this on crumb cake, this method, early espresso, it looks almost like leather, which is really cool. This particular one does a really good job. So ink it up really well. Try not to let too much time lapse, especially if you got a ceiling fan going. Put your paper in, seal it up. I'm going to set that aside really fast to grab my big shot here. Now, whatever machine you're using, use the recommended setup for your platform for a 3D. And run it through. Very simple, but it gives great effects. Ouch. That hurt. I'll pull this out, and I'll set this back over out of the way. So we're done with him. And then if you pull this off, I'm doing this very gently because it's still wet. It does take a few minutes for it to dry and sink in. But can you see all the beautiful, and then you flip it over, it looks totally different. And it just gives beautiful texture to the flowers. So I'm going to fold this up and set it somewhere safe until I can go wash it. So anyhow, that's how you make the paper. Then you come along. Oh, it's dry enough. We'll go ahead and use this one. And you're going to punch out flowers. Now, to do this card, you need 2, you could use 3, I went with 2. So I punched out 2 flowers, and you do this for each of the colors, but like I said, I'm only going to show you on one because the flowers actually needed to sit and dry. You'll understand that shortly. So, and then I fiddled with them a little bit and rolled them up, and you know, you can curl them a little bit if you wanted. I don't want that much curl to them. But either side, then you can look at both sides, see who's got the best coloring, you know, best texture, whatever. And then they're going to go like that. And I used a nice glue dot for that. And you can play with these afterwards too. That's good enough. All of them are different. They're, you know, they go different. You could do 3 if you wanted, but I'm going 2. Okay, now for the centers of these flowers, this is what makes it have to wait. We are going to use the Pearlized Enamel Effects Basics, and we're using the black. Now, I need to use, and I didn't bring an extra. You're going to see the ones I've already made for this card. But I'll show you how to apply these because I need my mat and I didn't bring another one. Can you see how nice they turn out here? They turn out very pretty. This card, just so you know, I put these on the enamel. I put them on after I had it on the card. I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd waited and did them this way and let them dry before I put them on the card. So I would do that. Just my recommendation. But it does take, I did these probably about 4 o'clock yesterday, and I let them dry until I got up this morning at 6 o'clock. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in the center of this, and you're going to push. And this is bigger than you normally would do with this stuff. That's why it takes so long for it to set up. is you're going to put a big, huge glob. I spread it out a little bit. And it will flatten down as it settles. But you can also tap it a little bit too. Like that. And then set that aside and let that dry for overnight or whatever. And then it's ready to use. It gets all shiny and glossy. Now these little bottles do clog up once in a while. So I've got a little straight pin I stuck right here inside the bag. So if it does clog up, I can, you know, unclog it. This stuff's pretty cool. So let me set this on this little mat over here to dry, because I'll use them later. Like I said, I'm going to make some more of these. So now it's time to assemble. So our card base is 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. And now we have lots of mats. If you wanted to make your mats out of this, you could. But I didn't. I wanted to keep it simple. So I have mats. Now, when after I cut my mats, I like to reduce the weight on my cards. Also, you know, this is good paper that no one's ever going to see. So let's clip some out. You could use dies. I went ahead on this one and used punch. My previous video, I used dies. So it's up to you. You don't have to do this. I just prefer to do it, and because it's stuff I will always save. So this one is let's start this over. It's 5 1/4 by 4. The pumpkin pie is 5 by 3 3/4, and the crushed curry is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. So we're going down a 1/4 inch on all measurements as we go. So we're gonna get this a little more here so it lays flat. And let's grab my center first and put him in. He's just gonna get glued in there. Just like that. Now we're going to glue him on. Whoop. Like I said, no one's going to ever see this but you and me. You're not going to tell. Try to square that up as even as I can get it. Okay, and then pumpkin pie. Now you could cut these. I just cut these, you know, with the thing. You could do this with dies if you wanted. But sometimes just cutting the straight panels makes for a really nice card. And we will reduce a little bit of weight and bulk in this card because it is a little on the bulky side. And then there's our white, our very vanilla that we made that's going to go in the center here. That. And our flowers. Now I think the reason the flowers don't work too well being on the card when you put the enamel glaze on them is because they were up on dimensionals and they're not lying flat. So I think that may be the big issue. But doing it this way, they do lie flat. And it actually makes putting it on simpler. And then if you do make a mistake on one of them, you don't have to tear the card apart. So we're putting some dimensionals on there. And you could put more flowers on this. You could put less. Oop. got little things everywhere. I'm going to show you another card that inspired me to make this card. It was a card I made for my mother. So there's our little card. Like I said, you could put more flowers on this or less. Here's our envelope. I'm going to show you this card. This is a 6, as I drop it, this is a 6x6 card, and it's also got the large daisy punch, which we don't have anymore. But this was the card I made, I think maybe 10 years, well, not 10 years ago, 5 years ago, for my mother for her birthday. And this is a 6x6 card, so it's rather large. But anyhow, this was the one that I seen this, it was sitting on her desk, and I seen it, and I'm like, oh, this would be cool, but I'll make a fall one and make it smaller. So if you still have the daisy punches and you don't want to use this the daisy stamps, and you don't want to use this technique, you could just go back and do the stamping and, you know, make them whatever. And these are some big pearls I had from somewhere. But anyhow, you can, you know, do different ways. But since we no longer have a daisy stamp that makes cool design, I decided I'll have to make my own. And so that's the way I did it. And then I'll go around in here and fussy with these a little bit and pull them up and curl them a little bit and just make them all pretty. So this is our card. Like I said, it's pretty simple. The hardest, the most time consuming part was making your beautiful paper and waiting for the enamel to dry. And I just realized that enamel, even if you can give it a full 24 hours, I would. It's still okay to work with, but it is a little on the tacky side still. And also, like I said, our temperatures are been very hot. We've been in, you know, at or close to 100 for days now, and we do not have air conditioning in our house, and that could be affecting that here as well. Just the darn humidity of the house. I mean, if we can keep our house under 80 degrees, we're doing good. So anyhow, so that might be the factor, but give them as long time as you can. So if you know you're going to make some cards like this, make them up, set them aside a couple days, 24 hours, and they will be good to go. So with that being said, please remember to like and subscribe. If you need a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, please consider letting me be your demonstrator. I'd love to help you. And I will see you next time. Have a nice weekend. Goodbye.